So if you have any of those, I know it all.
Yeah, same goes for you. Our voice sound really bassy.
I know, it's cool.
Yeah.
So maybe we should just start.
Questions?
Start like that. Any questions? Hey.
How's it going?
Good.
One thing I noticed, and it may just be because I'm in the second row and I've never seen you two both perform up close together before, I noticed you were both at times vocalizing with what you were playing. Is that something you both always try to do, and is that something we should practice, or how do you approach that?
Can I answer it for Pius first?
Yeah.
So I as much as I dislike everything about Pius, I mean everything. Just everything. Just terrible human being in general. He's an incredibly consistent performer. Don't get mad. I'm going to compliment you for a second. He's like incredibly consistent as far as his like being on expressively. So like his. How do you say this? His like margin for error of a bad day seems very narrow to me.
You haven't seen me play enough, dude.
Maybe, and that's what I was about to say. Maybe I haven't, but expressively, like you always seem to deliver at the same level of expression. Like I struggle to do that. I think I will sometimes, be in a real carpeted room and like the marimba's dry, or the room is too live and I'm playing snare, so I'm like, oh man, it just doesn't. I have a hard time getting into it, but he seems to just like commit himself, or like you somehow do it every time. So that's something I try to aspire to do. But as far as doing it on purpose, no, not really. It's like one of those things of like, oh yeah, that's happening, cool, and it coincides with feeling good. So I kind of just let it go,
See, my thinking is the opposite. I think my margin is so much wider than his. So like I don't know, I guess it's because you're listening to other people, they're good friends, so like you think they're always good. But let's face it, our wives are always better.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Like both our wives are percussionists, and they both have I think they both have like much better consistency. Like they're always like trying their best, and I always feel like I'm the same way. I'm like, oh, it's carpet, I'm sleepy, fine.
Yeah, your wife especially, she's like way better than you.
Yeah. Like so much better at playing and look at and
everything. Just talk to.
Yeah, talk to.
Yeah.
So
answer this
question. I never noticed you vocalizing until like I sat right next to you. Is that a new thing?
No, I do that. It's that piece too.
Oh, it's that piece. Yeah. You just hate it so much. But no, like with me, I think I don't want to chink it up too much, but being Chinese, like it's the martial art thing. Because if you punch someone, if you make a sound, it's so much easier, and you don't block your energy and you don't hurt yourself. The Bruce Lee thing. Yeah. No, if I punch him,
your aura.
See, if I punch him here, let me punch you. Okay. So if I punch you like that, it hurts, right?
No.
Here, but like if I add some chi to it, I can like push you pretty far. Like, and we're both pretty scrawny, so I think it's got to do with like the energy production too. Like when we were trying to get a big sound, and us not being big guys, we were trying to use more of our weight and our breath, so the voice comes out naturally.
In Sam Solomon's How to Write for Percussion book, it's like an orchestration book for composers.
You never read.
But I know it exists, and I know about this passage. So this passage says something that I think we don't tell composers enough, which is, if you just asked a percussionist to do, 10 fortissimo cymbal crashes, it's going to be really hard for them 2 beats later to play a pianissimo triangle hit. Because your heart's pumping and like your adrenaline's going, and it takes a certain amount of energy to do that. So at least on my piece, that first piece I played was my Etude in E minor, and that piece really, like when it gets really active, I feel like vocalizing and breathing out kind of helps you deal with that. So I don't know, it's a place to put that energy that is somewhere other than wrong notes, hopefully. Even though it ends up in that place a lot too. Yeah.
We're really good at playing wrong notes.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
But with this piece, it doesn't sounds better with Robin.
Yeah, sure. Another question? Oh crap, it's that thing.
Oh, it's that thing.
It's that thing.
Yes!
I've seen you do videos together, discussion online, and things like that, and you obviously have a working relationship. Could you
That was my
describe
idea, by the
how
way.
you've gotten the
That was my
work
house.
together and just how you work together and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wait,
was-
people don't know how
how-
we met.
How have you met? How
Oh,
have you worked
yeah.
together? What's that look like?
Uh-huh. Yeah, the short answer is school.
Game of Thrones.
But we predate that. Yeah, just school. Yeah, it's Boston Conservatory. You were in your last year, and I was in my first year.
Yeah.
Something like that. And I think the
Out of a 2-year program, you know. Don't make it sound like I'm like 5 years older than you. Like my last year, out of the 2-year program. I was a year ahead of you.
yeah, he was like, been there way too long and all that.
Yeah, I'm smart.
And I just like cruised through because so.
Oh, wait,
but there was.
doctorate? Oh, wait.
But
a
there
minute.
was one. Yeah, we'll get to that. Okay, so there was one Christmas break where I think you and Erica were more laid back about your like practice schedules at the time, because I think you were.
I was always laid back. My wife practices a lot.
Okay, so the building was closed, like locked, like they locked it for break. And
Oh,
they,
yeah.
they disabled our cards and everything, and I was kind of in like man, I gotta practice. I've never gone 2 days without practicing until this point in my life, and like.
That's a lie.
Yeah, but anyway, like you guys made dinner like every night. We hung out in your place a lot, and yeah, so there was like a solid month where we just hung out a lot. So yeah,
That's a very dark month.
Oh yeah. So it's
We watched
just
Naruto.
just we're friends, Yeah. But I want to say like it's a good example, I think, of the lesson that I tell students a lot, and I imagine a lot of us tell students a lot, which is like your immediate colleagues are like really valuable. Like you might look at the student you're growing up with as like a competitor, and you're always trying to size yourself up, and you're always like, oh man, that person plays marimba a little better than me, but I play snare drum a little better, and you're always like trying to figure out where you stand in the world. So you might have like contention between your peers. And you have to not let that go too far, because ultimately your colleagues are like your biggest allies. Like your colleagues are probably more valuable than like your teachers. We always think like, oh yeah, I'll just be like super, super kind to my teacher and make my teacher happy all the time, and then I'll like get a gig from my teacher, or get like the ultimate gig, or my teacher will take me on tour with them or something. And that does happen, but ultimately it's like the people in your group, your study group, that are going to like hire you for jobs, and they ultimately are like really, really, really valuable. So it's a
Your
good
students
example.
compete with each other?
I mean, kind of.